Hello, welcome back to my channel. We're here for the next episode, number 8 I believe. Welcome. I've been very poorly these past few days, very unwell. So just don't expect too much from me energy wise. I'm very poorly, but I'm gonna go to my doctors, get looked at, and go from there and see if everything's okay. Make sure it's not COVID, because that'd be unfortunate. But having some issues, my health's down, and just been very poorly, curled up in a ball watching Family Guy. But we're back, we're gonna do this episode, and today we're going to be looking at some headlines. I've got some interesting sort of posts relevant to the news from Reddit, and then after that we're going to be playing a game. So welcome, episode 8. I hope everything's going well on your end. I'm just going to go turn this music down now. Alright, I hope everything's going well on your end. I hope you're looking after yourself. I hope, things are good. So, yeah. With that, let's dive in, and we're going to take a look at the headlines of the day and just sort of take a look at what's going on in the general situation there. So, the very first one I've opened up is in regards to sort of, the war situation in the Ukraine with Russia. And as you can see by the headline, it's a bit of grim news coming out of there. And that is the rape of Ukrainian women being systematic and open. So, obviously the Russian soldiers have invaded the Ukraine, and it looks like while they're out there fighting, as they're taking, towns and sort of areas where people are living, they're tying the men up, kidnapping the men, killing the men, and then, assaulting the ladies, the females, the women, the girls of these families. Horrible news. And, the reason I brought this one up relates back to something I said in another video just regarding the power being out in the Ukraine. And that is the sort of sides of this war and these situations that we, as people, as a generation that hasn't been in sort of, hasn't had our land and our home invaded, it's just the side of sort of war situations that we don't realise exist until we see it happening somewhere else. And we have seen this before. It's historical. When soldiers invade another land, this sort of thing does happen. It's horrible, and it's disgusting to see that this kind of thing still happens even in the modern era. I know that it's coming out that a lot of the times these soldiers were ordered to do these acts too. It is a tactic. It is like a spirit-breaking, dominating the people tactic. It's also a way of injecting like their genetics into the area just in case they're forced to retreat. Women are going to be getting pregnant, and if they can't access the healthcare, they're going to be giving birth to Russian children. So it's a tactic. It's disgusting, and it is happening. And there's reports coming out that children are involved, women are being targeted, the men, and and this is what I'm trying to say now. Put that here, put that home. Imagine we're at home, a country invades, things start getting locked down, we're getting striked, the power goes out, and while all this is happening, soldiers, heavily armed soldiers, breaking into your house in groups, tying you up, tying all the men up, and then, assaulting the women and taking advantage of the women while the men are unable to defend them. It's horrible, it's terrifying, and it is something that really does happen in times of war. And if we found ourselves being invaded and sort of engaging in that situation, we ourselves would see that here. I mentioned it as, just in general with the power going out and things turning into a state of anarchy. This is the kind of thing that does come with a state of anarchy. And it's the kind of stuff that we don't talk about too much. Like, we're very sensitive to rape culture, and we're trying to, improve that situation for women in general. But, on the other side of this is the fact that in these situations, in these times, it is women and children that do become not necessarily the most vulnerable, because we're all capable of defending ourselves as long as we have the senses to work a weapon, but they do become the most targeted. And that's the problem. It's not so much whether women can defend themselves, women can protect themselves, because they are capable of defending themselves and protecting themselves. The problem is they become targeted they become more directly targeted, meaning they have a lot more to defend themselves from, and they have a lot more situations that they're going to find themselves in where they're having to defend themselves, whereas a man in the same situation is only going to be a target if he's seen as some kind of opposition. If that man can blend or pass for not being directly involved, then there's a much lower chance of them being targeted for any specific reason, other than just because you're potentially a danger, you're potentially opposition. But for women and children, they have to watch twice as hard, because there's more reasons for them to get picked out that don't necessarily have anything to do with being the opposition. Just being seen as a woman in this situation, or as a vulnerable child in this situation, is enough to become targeted. So while everybody's at risk, everybody is in danger, it's important to look at what's going on elsewhere in the world and realise that, look, women do get targeted in this way in these times, and the men are not able to defend them. And don't get me wrong, men do get targeted for rape too. It's not exclusively women, and it's not exclusively children. It's just that, as we can see by the data, they are targeted. They are more targeted, more by percentage, en masse, right? And children too, and it's terrifying. And if you're a family person and you believe in protecting your family, then this is just something to bear in mind, because it doesn't have to be a war to find this situation coming about. It just has to be a state of anarchy where the lights are out, police response goes down, you're going to see these types of crimes going up. So it's something to be aware of. It's something to bring home and realise that, look, I might not be a prepper, I might not be doom and gloom, I might not be predicting anything like this to happen, which I think, especially after COVID, is a little bit naive, especially after some of the protests we've seen. It's naive to think that this situation couldn't come about, but I understand that some people are very much avoid the doom and gloom, but I would say, even if you're not a prepper, it's important to be mentally prepared, just in case this situation does erupt here. And as we can see, looking at other countries going through this, we can see trends of the things that seem to get targeted the most, things that seem to be important, places to avoid. Like we've seen Russian soldiers targeting nuclear plants. So if you live near some kind of power plant, a nuclear plant, then you'd be on high alert that your area could potentially get caught in the collateral damage. And it's just important to be mentally prepared and to mentally sort of know your hotspots. If you're living out in the countries, the sticks, the chances that you're going to be targeted by missiles and explosives is really low, unless of course you're operating some kind of really large farm, or you live nearby a really successful key farm. But again, if you're out in the country, you're out in the hills, there's a much less chance you're going to get targeted by missiles there than someone who lives sort of deep in the metropolitan area, in the cities, in the really built up areas. At the same time, living out in the sticks has its own host of problems, especially if things like power go down, if fuel stops flowing. It's a lot more perilous for those individuals to be able to even get access to the greater infrastructure, because if communications go down, the internet goes down, the power's out, so on and so forth, then you no longer have that easy access to the main areas. So you might avoid a lot of the shelling, but you're then going to be struggling a lot more in terms of resources and access, whereas the people in the more developed areas, it's going to be easier for them to keep communications going amongst each other. There's always safety in numbers, and there's advantages and disadvantages to wherever you might be located. Depending on where you're located, depending on your circumstances, depending on you what your career is. Are you part of the infrastructure, or are you doing something like that might be in an office that might not be of interest to the opposition? You might be working, it's a bit out there, but you might be working for some corporation that finds themselves immune from targeting because they have ties with this other country, and things could work out really well for you. So it's just important to be up to date on the situation, or the potential situation and the potentials of that situation. And of course, keeping in mind that if you're a family man and you have a wife, you have kids, or you have a partner and you have children, you've got to remember while planning the safety of your household, to also keep in mind that should something go wrong in the infrastructure, whether we find ourselves being invaded, whether the power goes out from weather causes, or whether it's for some other reason, that you are aware of the dangers associated with that situation and the potential anarchy. Because this is one of the key topics I want to bring up a lot on this channel, is this idea of anarchy. So during times of protest, during times of I guess just unrest in general, or like again if the power goes out and people are in the streets, one of the first things that comes about is this idea of anarchy. Now, there's plenty of rebellious natured individuals out there that believe in anarchy and believe we should be living in a state of anarchy. I sympathise with why they have that stance, especially in terms of the frustration they might have with the government. They're looking at it like, well, if we don't have a government, then we don't have to sort of answer to anybody. We don't have anybody to sort of point fingers at and say things are bad because of their actions. In an anarchy state, we make our own rules, or we make our own, we build our own society based around individuals as opposed to having a centralised government. So I see the argument people are making for anarchy, but when it really boils down to it, what we have to remember as sort of other people who are watching these anarchy states arise, because let's face it, anarchy is not something that you plan for. Anarchy is something that happens as a result of some other situation. For example, the power all goes out, the infrastructure fails, then we're going to see a rise in anarchy. A war breaks out, everything's destroyed, damaged, the war's coming to an end, there's potential for anarchy. It's just during the war, when there's no police infrastructure and the military is all being used overseas or whatever the situation might be, you're going to see states of anarchy. Now, personally, and I'm sure a lot of you probably agree with this sentiment, having a state of anarchy isn't ideal for us as citizens of a country. And that's because of things like this, where we see such a dramatic rise in these, violent acts of crime. So we don't want an anarchy state because we don't want to see that huge spike of criminal activity, which will affect us, affect our homes, affect our families. We just don't want to see it. There's an understanding that we kind of get the idea that if we go into a state of anarchy, we can potentially sort of topple the current way of workings. But do we really want to topple it, or do we just want to improve it and make it more compatible for the things we think that we need in society? Toppling it all creates a state of just chaos and destruction that I just don't think personally we need. We don't need to be putting people at risk in that way. We don't need people fighting in the streets. We don't need people getting, their houses broken into and violated. We don't need any of that to get things to change. We can do it just using the system itself. If we get smart, if we look at things just from that different perspective. But anarchy, and especially as someone who's thinking long-term anarchy, we've seen in other movies to see how that system would work. You've got your Mad Maxes out there. You've got, so many references to this idea that the people will just govern and police themselves. And what it really turns into is what we've already had historically. And, people are getting, set on fire and executed for daft reasons. There's no checks and balances because whoever, has the dominating force of power, as in the most weapons, the most members in their particular clique, then we're going to just see them doing whatever they feel like, and it'll just be a constant state of conflict for a long time as people struggle to balance that power out. And when we already have the power already balanced and just needing some working out, I do think that there's a better way than a state of anarchy. And I say that thinking of all the vulnerable people out there in society that are the ones at risk in these types of situations. And again, we can just look around the world, see what's going on, to see a reflection of what might happen should we get ourselves into the same situation. So important to pay attention to, hearts going out to these people who have been violated. There's never enough. Whatever we can do to help these people, we should be doing. It's awful, and it must be so terrifying. The people who are trying to defend their families and then getting they're getting violated just for trying to defend their homes. It's disgusting. We don't want to see it. And once again, we're calling for a quick end to this war and a chance for these people to rebuild, to heal, and to get things in their country back on track, because it's awful to see, and it's something we've got to bring home and put ourselves in their shoes and go, what would we do if we were living through this type of situation? And it's not impossible. We're not some kind of super safe place that's never going to fall into this. In fact, we're powder kegs waiting for this situation to erupt. We have these people who are going to commit these crimes already in the streets. They're already out there and doing it in smaller ways. In a state of anarchy, you're going to see all those people plus their friends no longer have the fear of the law, free to act on whatever urgent impulse they want. And we know we don't want that. We just don't want that. So hearts out to these people. paying attention to it, and we're trying to help them however we can, even if it's just the spreading of awareness. So, horrible situation there in the Ukraine. Horrible news to hear, and we just don't want it, and we don't need it. Some more news from the Ukraine situation. Air raid warnings were issued, basically just putting out the alert that we're expecting more missiles and strikes from Russia, prepping up for the next wave of attacks, and just that, there's a lot of talk of what Russia's going to do next, and we're discussing the nuclear option. Is it possible? Is it coming? Russia's making vows that it's going to, build its, develop its nuclear situation further, and, it's just, again, something we've got to pay attention to, because nukes will never, nukes should never be used. We have mutual assured destruction, but then when a country is fighting in a war and losing and things are looking bad for them, we don't know how far they're going to be, how much they can take and how far they can be pushed before they do make that decision and do put millions and millions of lives on the line across the world, so billions even. So again, it's important we pay attention, and it's important we know what this situation might look like should the worst happen, so that we can prepare and protect ourselves and our family as much as we're capable of doing. So Ukraine situation, important to pay attention to, and we just hope for the best possible ending considering the circumstances. So that was our first headline, the Ukraine situation. Now we're going to move on to the next one, and here we have a bit of a silly one from the US. I say silly, it's still important because these people are, presidential candidates, but we're looking at Trump urged to apologise for dining with Kanye West and a Holocaust-denying white nationalist. So we've all heard the news. Trump was seen at a dinner with a white supremacist. At the same time, we also saw Kanye West was trying to get Donald Trump to run as his vice president, and then he came out and basically denounced it and called him weird. And it's just these are some of the most popular people in our society right now, and it's just a lot to take in to see these people in such a high position, to have climbed so high up the ladder, and then to be getting headlines like this. It's intense. It's very, very intense. We don't know how much of it's for the cameras and how much of it's just their true personalities. And these people are vying for arguably the most powerful position on the planet, or one of. Definitely the most influential across the world. And it's scary to see just some of the stuff coming from these guys. So, Donald Trump having to apologise for dining with Kanye West and this Holocaust denier. Basically anti-Semitism from both those parties, and to have to see a presidential candidate apologise for dining with anti-Semitists is just a lot of stuff. I've never understood the idea of, for example, targeting, Semites and then kind of blaming all of them for the actions of a few people you might have identified as Jewish. And instead of blaming those people you've identified, people are blaming the entire race of these people. And I've never understood that. It's never everybody in a group who's guilty of something. We can just turn to the Muslims and look at that. While we see a lot of horror stories coming from Middle Eastern countries, people getting punished unfairly, a lot of hate stuff comes from a lot of these Muslim places. It's easy to look at them and kind of say, oh, that's just a Muslim thing. In reality, it's just certain groups of these Muslims, and as we know, people who have lived amongst these communities know there's plenty of people part of the Muslim faith who have nothing to do with this kind of thing. But it becomes easy to blame an entire group, and just like it's wrong there, it's wrong everywhere. It's never the entire group's fault. There's always, instigators, and there's always people kind of doing their own thing within something else. So this idea where it's okay to just be a general anti-Semite instead of blaming the specific people responsible for whatever it is you are presently upset about, such as Kanye West, instead of targeting the person, the individual, they are instead targeting their entire race. And it's ridiculous. If it happened to Kanye West and his race, as it's historical, they wouldn't be happy. If it happened to the white supremacist in his race, he wouldn't be happy. No one wants to be targeted in such a broad way for reasons you have nothing to do with. So the strong reaction to the anti-Semitism, I think, is a positive thing. It makes no sense to just blame every single person of a race for anything, because that's not how reality works. And at the same time, we don't really want to see, someone vying for the most powerful position in the world. We don't want to see them, meeting with and having discussions with, supremacists and racists. We just don't want to see that, because this position is too important to have someone in charge who potentially could be, of these ideas themselves. We don't want that. We want a president who's going to treat everyone equally, be fair to all people across the world, because that kind of thing is important, because we do live on one planet, even if some of us like to pretend that we don't. We're all trading with each other. We all get resources from everybody. It's all a big connected system. And at some point, we do have to start acting like and realizing that, when it comes to our dealings within our own country, a lot of the times the rest of the world is involved with that. So the supremacist attitude, I can't fault a person for, in the privacy of their home, saying, I think my people are the best. We all do it at football games. We all do it at sporting events. Our people are the best. Our team's the best. Our country's the best. We all do it. The World Cup is an example of that. But at the same time, we don't want that attitude in our politics. I might think whatever in the privacy of my home, but if I was in an important position, then it would be my responsibility to keep what I'm saying to the people neutral and not projecting those strong biased ideas in a world that's supposed to be unbiased. So, like it or not, it is a world. There are different people, and we need people in these positions that understand that and understand why it's important to respect that. So, not the best news to hear from a presidential candidate. Having the president candidate in a conversation with Kanye West and white supremacists is just an intense thing to see in 2022. But we're hoping nothing comes of it. We hope he makes his apology and explains himself. And we're hoping that it wasn't what it could look like, depending on who was watching. But I think the Jewish people are right to be upset. I think the world's right to be upset. Because at the end of the day, we just don't do that kind of thing. We don't blame an entire race because we're mad at a couple of individuals who just happen to be a part of that group, or that race or religion. We just don't do that. We take everyone at face value and we hold the actual guilty parties guilty, not the entire group of people. So, from the law and order side of it, we've got to be fair and we've got to treat people and not as some kind of symbol of something else, especially if they don't personally represent any particular symbol like that. So, another interesting headline coming from the US. Again, something to watch, because at the end of the day, we have no choice. These individuals, Donald Trump, Kanye West, Elon Musk, they're in our faces all the time. We hear about them everywhere. They are sort of the biggest, the more popular people of the times. So, we'll just have to see how these situations unfold as they're reported to us. But there we go. Trump, dining with Kanye West, an anti-Semite and a Holocaust-denying white nationalist. Not amazing. Hopefully he comes out and explains why that meeting happened. So, on to the next headline. And again, we have COVID-19 news. So, on the other side of this COVID-19 situation is sort of the backlash from the measures the governments were bringing in and the sort of actions they took to punish individuals not following the rules of the time. And as we can see here, tens of thousands, it looks like 33,000 is the number. Fines being returned to people who were made to pay them. People were paying fines for lots of reasons. Holding events when they weren't supposed to, going places and getting caught out in public when they weren't supposed to. And the government has, the Australian government has looked at this and decided, right, we need to refund these fines. And basically that's because the reasoning for doing it, as we know from being part of these situations, wasn't clear. It wasn't explained to businesses well what they could and couldn't do. The rules were all over the place. And at the end of the day, even if we're told to stay inside, there are situations that are still going to take us outside. And the government, didn't allow for those kinds of things. And as we know, a lot of people ended up in worse situations because they did follow the rules and it did affect their lives because they couldn't go do certain things. And we know just how disruptive these measures were. And it looks like the government has just decided, we can't enforce all of these, and it's understandable. It was bound to happen that the government would make mistakes in such a high pressure, it's a high pressure, quick quick evolving situation, so we knew mistakes were going to be made. And as we can see over in Australia, and hopefully following up in other places, the government's looking back now and going, right, we messed up there. We've got to give these fines back and take back that punishment. So good news for people, and I'm sure people appreciate the money coming back in this time of inflation. So good news coming from the COVID situation, and again, this just shows, it just goes to show that the governments are looking at their actions and are reviewing everything and are realising that they made some mistakes, and people are getting, what's fair to them back as a result of those decisions. So good news from Australia. We want to see more of this kind of thing, the government reviewing, tightening up, and let's face it, if another pandemic were to hit, the government's a lot more prepared for it now than it was before COVID-19. So it's going to be a positive in the long run. We will be looking back and we'll be glad that we made the choices we made, even if at the time they seemed difficult. I do think that we'll be looking back on this and saying, good job, we did what we could. So good stuff. We like seeing a fair government. We like seeing people getting back what they're owed. And yeah, lots of good stuff there. So the next headline, now, I'm not supposed to talk about the World Cup. I'm not supposed to engage with it because I am boycotting it. But this headline stood out to me because, again, we have protesters carrying rainbow flag invading the pitch. This is people basically protesting this event, saying we don't agree with this, and putting themselves on the line to spread their message. Powerful stuff. There's arguments to be made about whether, this person is violating the rules, the safety of the players. There's a lot of stuff to be said, but ultimately a protest is a protest. A brave individual for doing this in such a hostile country, especially with the rainbow flag. And yeah, just goes to show that there are some people out there who are speaking out and are not happy about this situation. And just reminding everyone that, look, there's people in our home countries who are, it looks badly on those people. And this guy is saying, we stand with them. I represent some people who stand with them, and I'm willing to put my safety on the line for that. But again, there's a right way and a wrong way. I don't know if running onto a pitch in the middle of a seemingly important match for the people of those countries, so on and so forth. There's a lot to be said, but ultimately, brave person for even making that decision in a place where the laws and this kind of thing are very, very strict. So, strong message. They obviously felt extremely strongly and passionate about what they were showing. Save the Ukraine, respect for Iranian women. So this person was out there basically saying, I just don't agree with this country and the things they stand for. And I think that's fair enough when they're so intolerant of so many things. And then, it's good to have these messages showing them that, look, regardless of how conservative you are, the other side are not scared to stand for these people. So, powerful stuff. Do leave your views in the comments. I'm sure a lot of people think this was dangerous and unnecessary because, again, the best way to protest something like this is to just boycott it. But this person obviously had other ideas and decided to crash it. And, because I'm biased against this World Cup, I'm all for people making actions like this as long as they're safe and as long as no one's getting hurt. But at the same time, I definitely do see reasons why this might not have been the best way to go about it. So, interesting to see this kind of thing. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of this type of thing before the World Cup's over, and rightfully so, because we're all for human rights here, and Qatar is the opposite, and we should never be accepting of that kind of thing. So on to the next headline now. We have monkeypox, which has had its name changed to Mpox on account that basically the World Health Organization has decided that this name is to be considered racist. The old name is now racist. The name monkeypox considered racist. Again, this is probably going to hit the free speech people more. The idea that something simple as monkeypox, which never seemed racist, and you've probably never heard it used racially. It's not something you thought about in those terms. You just thought it was a name for a virus like all the other names, like bird flu and swine flu, and then you have monkeypox and cowpox and all kinds of stuff, right? Didn't seem like a big deal. However, the World Health Organization, the people who make these decisions, have looked at it and have said, no, this is racist to us. We do see racism here. And while the free speech people are probably going to be hurt by that because it seems so silly, at the end of the day, I think we've got to just look at it in the obvious way, which is that the people responsible for this kind of thing, the World Health Organization, who make these decisions, have made this decision based on whatever evidence they had. And I think it's just that simple. It's Mpox now. It hardly matters. And they did have reason to think the name was just racist. Maybe just because it came out of West Africa, a place commonly, a place where dark-skinned individuals are native to, and they've obviously said calling a disease from that area monkeypox is in some way racially offensive. I don't know if that's racially offensive. I'm not a person who would be directly affected by that, so who knows? But the World Health Organization has decided that it is, and regardless of free speech, regardless of all these things, the people responsible for making that type of decision have so decided, and I see no reason to argue with them over something that doesn't affect me anyway. It's only going to be the news and scientists who are going to use this name often, unless, of course, you get a case of Mpox, then you might use the name, but I think generally it's not something that affects us boots on the ground. It's just interesting to see, and it should be a positive to see that, yes, these individuals are looking at this kind of thing and making sure that all is fair and all is acceptable for people around the world, and that's what's important. This might not be a big deal here in the Western world, but perhaps over in Africa, this was something that was used racially. It's something you hear. Maybe other countries have a trend with this phrase. I don't know, but it has now been changed, and we're gonna have to just accept that these people know what they're talking about. So another interesting thing, this idea of like political correctness, free speech, etc. And it's interesting to see that there are still people out there looking at these types of things, these sort of historic names and classified names and classifications. and making sure that they're not misrepresenting or biased or hate motivated in some way. So monkeypox now, Mpox, hardly affects us at home, but it is interesting to see that people are making those kind of decisions. Again, it doesn't affect us. If someone says that's really racist, for a lot of people like myself, who are obviously more left-leaning, we're just like, yep, cool, I won't say that because it doesn't affect us. And I wasn't exactly going around talking about monkeypox on a daily basis anyway. Mpox as it's now called. So yeah, no big deal, but interesting again to see something like that happening and that name change taking place. So the next headline we have is China protests, extraordinary scenes as protesters are basically letting themselves be heard. So we have a protest taking place across China. The situation does seem to be escalating somewhat. We've seen now that the protesters are out there with the police are wearing hazmat suits, wrestling with the protesters. Obviously, this is all COVID related and it's all disease control. And as we know, that is an excuse the government will use to shut down a protest. It's, quarantine, you're not supposed to be out here. Unfortunately, I hate to be that person, but if the government says we're in a quarantine, you shouldn't be out here, we're going to take action against you if you continue to stay out here, then we can't get mad at the government for just doing its job. Even if we don't like the curfew, if the government sets a curfew and says we're going to act on it, then they have the power to do so, and they are the ones technically in the right, because it's technically a law and you break in the law, and they have the right to detain and arrest you. And that's the downside to these kinds of situations. As much as we have a right to protest, we don't really have the right to protest. Government will shut us down whenever it decides it can. And, we see this kind of thing happen whenever there's a protest. We see kettling tactics, we see all sorts going on, water cannons, and, again, you have a right to protest, but you don't have the right to protest, or more importantly, the government has the right to shut you down, especially when breaching certain rules. And yes, they are out there during a quarantine, a lockdown, and unfortunately, the government and the police do have the power to act on that. However, that doesn't mean the protest shouldn't happen, and these protests have been a long time coming. It always frustrates me that, a situation happens like this at the worst time, because it's taken for this to happen for people to become obviously too wound up and too too uncomfortable with the measures to the point where they're now out in the streets protesting. Whereas if they'd have protested before the lockdowns, or if they waited till after the lockdowns and then had that same passion, they would have had more sort of, it would have been less of, the government would have had less of an excuse to shut them down. Going out during the actual lockdown is probably the worst time to go out, because then, of course, you're basically saying we're just breaking the law by being out here, and you're just giving them more power over you to shut down your protest faster. And once a protest has been shut down, the people lose steam for a while, and you won't see another uprising until the pressure rebuilds. So yeah, it frustrates me that people pick the worst times. Protesting during the lockdown is the worst time, quite simply because the government has more powers to enact over you. So not good. In that way, not good seeing them out there fighting with the protesters, the police in China. It's more likely than not that the government does get their way here, but nonetheless, it's a big sign and it's a big message to the rest of the world. Most importantly, from our perspective, the Chinese people are sending us a loud and clear message that they are not happy with their current government, and I'm sure that if we look a bit deeper into this, we're going to find confirmation that a lot of the horror stories we've heard from China are based on truth, and people are just getting sick of these things being in place, these measures. And it's a strong message, and it's something that happened in America, it's something that happened in the UK and across Europe, people protesting the lockdowns, and now here's China in a lockdown, also protesting the lockdown. So the governments around the world need to look at this and go, look, people can only be kept in their houses against their will for so long before they just snap and get head out into the streets and just break all the rules. So a big deal, strong messages, but for me it's just sad that these types of things only break out when the government has the most power to stop them. Kind of ironic, but it makes sense. The pressure of being locked in your house, you just think, well, why should I tolerate this any longer? And it kind of also feels like you have nothing to live for when you're just stuck in your house and can't go to your job and can't do and see the people you normally go and see and the things you normally go and do. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on there. Again, something to watch. I do think the government has the strong advantage legally because it's a lockdown and a quarantine. The government technically is the one in the right. People shouldn't be out in the streets during the quarantine. Whether we like it or not, the quarantines are for a reason. No one has proven that COVID isn't real. No one has proven any of this stuff that people are saying. And it is an invisible illness that has killed people. And every time I've spoken to a nurse, they've seen it. They've seen people on the ventilation. They've seen people on respirators in hospitals. So there is something there. We can argue all day about the severity of it. But at the end of the day, the government, the scientists have deemed the lockdowns necessary. And, your role in society is to accept that the government you elect, and even the one that you didn't vote for, but it's still the same government, and the government has a job, and its job is to deal with these situations. And you being out there violating the quarantine is only a recipe to make things more volatile and worse. When the scientists say the way to curb this is to stay inside, who are we dum-dums to argue with that when we can't even see the illness that's apparently killing us, right? So there's a time and a place to pick your battle, and I do think here with the COVID stuff, we've kind of picked the most awkward time to throw tantrums. We should wait till after the situation and then respond to it. We shouldn't be doing it during it, because at the end of the day, the virus is invisible. It is killing people. There's definitely questionable stuff that's been occurring, but the scientists and the government have said, look, the way to curb this is to stay indoors. Then them telling us to stay indoors isn't some big heinous surprise. It's just them doing what the scientists said, recommended, and the doctors recommended was the best thing. And I don't argue with my doctor when he checks my prostate. I don't argue with my doctor when he takes my blood and tells me the results. So that's why we have doctors. That's why we need doctors. And if they're telling us to just stay inside for a while, it's hardly the worst thing in the world. But if we're angry at the government for other reasons, we should get out there at the times where we can do the maximum impact. It may seem like violating a quarantine's big impact, but all it really does is delegitimize the protesters for violating the lockdown when the government made it clear what will happen if you do so. And again, if the government tried that same tactic outside of a quarantine, you'd have a much stronger argument to say, look at this government behaving in this way. But if they do that when they're supposed to do it, then it kind of just lessens the whole stance and makes the whole thing look a little bit more tantrumy than it's probably intended. So stuff to keep in mind and stuff to pay attention to. At the end of the day, the government over in China clashing with the protesters has the legal advantage. They said, if you don't stay inside, we'll do XYZ. And now that people have chosen to go outside, they're going to do XYZ, as they said loud and clear they were going to do, to nobody's surprise. But hearts out to the protesters. They're unhappy. They want to see things happen now, and they are taking the actions. Just maybe they could have picked a better battle to go against their government on when their government is already so overbearing on them anyway. So something to think about. A lot going on there. Let's pay attention to China. And like I say, ultimately this is a strong message from the Chinese people that they are not happy with their government, and they haven't just accepted Xi Jinping and his government, the CCP, at face value. They're not happy, and they're trying to speak out, knowing the risks, and a lot of courage needed for that kind of thing. So the next headline, we're back to Ukraine. Basically, we're seeing reports that Russia might be trying to basically end this war, get some kind of deal going, and call a truce. So, from what I gathered here, with Russia on the retreat, with them sort of refusing some of these meetings, there's questions as to whether they're looking to reduce this situation and start getting things under control. They've postponed the nuclear arms meeting, meaning they've postponed the meeting for them to discuss the nuclear option. The US is considering giving the Ukraine some extra weaponry and firearms. And overall, again, just like we saw in one of the other videos, there is signs of a Russian back down, a Russian retreat. We have seen reports that Russia is ready to dig in over the winter. They've got some trenches going, and it looks like they're kind of ready to go the distance. But as we've heard and know, Russia is under-equipped for the winter warfare, and they're running out of missiles, and it is just looking strongly like Russia might be considering the option to back down. So some good news. We might be seeing an end to this fight soon. We might be seeing a resolve to the situation. We will see. But yeah, good to hear that Moscow is postponing their nuclear meetings, and there are signs that they're starting to back off. So best thing for the people of the Ukraine, that Russia just backs away and accepts that they quite probably are not going to win this war, and they're showing signs that they're not really interested in going nuclear. But of course, why would they be, when all it will do is spell the end of Russia anyway? All it will do is get Russia nuked, and we'll achieve nothing, and it's just, there's not much motivation for him to do something like that other than just for the destruction of it. But there are rumours that Putin's in a condition where he might not have much longer to live, and he's considering going out with a bang, so to speak. We know that people who are very narcissistic can have that attitude, like, if I'm going, taking everybody with me. We're hoping that's not the case. We're hoping he does, people don't let him do that. And obviously we are seeing signs out of Moscow that they're not really pressing too hard for this option. So again, watching the situation, but on the other side of the Ukraine situation, there is some positive news coming that Russia is backing down and are showing signs of potential retreats. So good to hear. Positive side of a horrible situation. Again, we'll be paying attention to that. And yeah. So, some news from the UK now. And again, I said I was only going to focus on stuff that affects sort of the globe, but this is something local, but it's just to do with the power situation. The long and short of it is, basically, sorry, I just was reminding myself there. Basically, we're starting to consider enacting a power out prevention scheme. It's the first time it's ever been used, and the basics of it are people being paid to reduce their power usage to avoid the grid going down. Now, in the UK, we're having the cost of living crisis, and the cost of things like electricity have skyrocketed, and people are struggling to pay. And now, on the other side of this news, we're seeing that not only has the prices of the electricity gone up, but now there seems to be less of it available overall. We are looking at a potential situation over December time, over January, where the power starts going out. The rumours are out there. It's being whispered on the grapevine, so to speak. And obviously now we're seeing that, we're starting to enact certain measures to make sure we have enough electricity on the grid. So, again, it doesn't really affect the world. It's something that's only going to really affect the UK. However, I do see this as, just like I was saying in one of the other episodes, the situation in the Ukraine with them not having power is something that can happen to us at any time. It doesn't have to be a wartime situation. And here we are sort of crossing that boundary now into a territory where we're starting to get that forecast that we're having a problem with our electricity here in this country, in the UK. And of course, this connects back to Ukraine too, because a lot of this is to do with the Russia situation. And, ultimately, it just goes to show that we can be affected in a more non-direct way, but also in just as serious a way. And again, I don't know how long we go without power in this country before we start to see the crime rate dramatically increase. I imagine not very long, and we just don't want to be in a situation where the power's constantly out, or we're constantly having outages. We know looting happens when the power's out. We know things get destroyed, damaged. If there's no power, there's no cameras, and it just opens the door for a lot of stuff to happen and take place in those times when the power is out. So we don't want to see that. And yeah, we are getting that early forecast, those first signs that this is something that could start happening. We hope not, and we hope that the people who if the power does go out, the people affected are able to keep themselves warm, keep themselves fed, and of course keep themselves safe. But yeah, so just some news from the UK. Over here, we are looking at a situation where we ourselves might start seeing the lights go out. So interesting times, and again, it just goes to show something happening somewhere else that we might be a little bit apathetic towards because it's not happening to us, can also turn around and happen to us at any time for any reason. So yeah, not the best news for the UK, something we're paying attention to, and we all need to do our part and just try and keep our power usages low. And yeah, so we're going on to the last headline now from the news. And again, we're just back to the China page. The odds are I had something scrolled on here that stood out to me, and unfortunately the page refreshes itself and loses your place. But again, it's just more of the same thing I was saying before. The situation in China, it's something for us to watch, pay attention to. It's a strong message of the people not being happy, but we also need to be careful seeing what's going on there and what can happen to us, that we do pick our moments that give us the best chance of the best outcome, instead of making it easy for the government to shut these things down and give them more powers than they ever need for a protest. So again, lots going on in China, lots to pay attention to. But yeah, hazmat suit people in the streets, the police in the streets wearing hazmat suits, it just gives it a very dystopian feeling. But again, during a quarantine, it's probably not the best time to go out there in large groups of people. We can't see the virus, it's just something that happens. There's so many stories, wolves ate my face, people going out there unvaccinated, unmasked, talking the big one, and then catching COVID themselves and finding themselves very unwell and changing their story later once it's affected them more directly. We shouldn't, we should be past this point. We're adults. We shouldn't need to catch something ourselves to fear it, just like with AIDS viruses, HIV, and all the other nasty stuff. We should be aware of them before we catch them so that we don't catch them. We shouldn't wait until we catch them to start being cautious about them. So just another way of looking at this, and just lots of stuff, and interesting to see that here we are in 2022 and the COVID situation is still having an effect on the world even now. And it's a lot. I'm not someone who's going to sit here and say there wasn't most likely some underhanded sort of dodgy dealings going on. There wasn't sort of an overreaction from the government. I think a lot of that is true, but I still think that you want a functioning government to function, especially in times of emergency. And here was a potential emergency that nobody knew anything about, and the government did what they felt was necessary to try and avoid the bigger crisis. Yeah, was it necessary? Well, we'll probably never know, because at the end of the day, these measures were brought in, and we can't compare a situation where they were never brought in to one where that did, if that didn't take part and didn't happen. We can only look at what did happen. The measures were brought in, the crisis was avoided. Whether that would have happened naturally or not, who's to say? It's easy for us to... We can make the conclusion that if it weren't for the lockdowns, if it weren't for the measures, we would have seen more people die. The older people, the already sick people. If we hadn't put these measures in, we would have seen a lot more of those people catch the illness and die. So who knows what it would have looked like without any measures in place, but we had them. Yeah, there was a percentage of people not following them, and they might make the anecdotal argument that, well, I didn't wear a mask and I'm fine, but at the end of the day, enough people were wearing masks that an effect was felt, and we don't know what it looks like if we didn't wear them, because we did wear them for the most part. But interesting stuff. Paying attention to the COVID situation. It is on the tail end from what we can see, but there's nothing stopping a resurgence or some kind of mutation or pretty much anything from happening at this point. China is getting strict with their lockdowns, and it's not for no reason. So who knows what can happen next? But paying attention to, and also paying attention as to ourselves, that when we decide we've had enough and we want to go make our voices heard, just like with the football stuff and just like with this, we've got to make sure we're timing it to give ourselves the best chance of success instead of timing it to give the opposition the best chance of success. And certain actions are just easily pleased and some not so. So pay attention, think things through, and we'll see how the situation develops over time. So yeah, with that, I'm going to move on to some Reddit posts now. That's Reddit. If I didn't say that clearly, Reddit. Can't say that very well. And we're going to just look at... I've got 4 pages open. Same kind of thing as the news headlines, just some interesting posts that are either relevant to the news or are just interesting. Just going to have a look at those and just see what we have. So the first post is from user top_friend. Deliveroo riders harassing young girls, what can be done? This is from the Ask UK subreddit, so this is a British thing that we're talking about, or a European thing. It's something we've heard about quite a few times now. It does happen. I've had some of the women in my life tell me stories about like Uber drivers and taxi drivers and just weird happenings. One story I can think of is just being driven to the middle of nowhere and propositioned, obviously refusing it, very scared, but fortunately was then just taken home, and just them making weird comments and just being a bit too involved with the passengers. And it happens, and here we have, delivery riders harassing young girls. What's the solution to it? So I believe this is something that happens across Europe, and in some places, this is a lot more severe too. And how do we solve such a thing? Well, without going into the comments, because I don't want to, plagiarize people's ideas. It's difficult because in the UK, in order to become like an Uber driver, it didn't used to be like this, but now you do need to have a proper taxi driver license. I don't think it is for the food stuff, but definitely for the taxi stuff. And I think the problem ultimately comes down to the kinds of people getting those licenses, or simultaneously the kinds of people getting those jobs. Now, these jobs, these Deliveroo, Uber, Just Eat jobs are appealing to people. A big reason for that is because they're self-employed roles, meaning you manage your own finances, and this is very appealing for people like drug dealers and people, criminal entities who spend a lot of their time and a lot of their career sort of being out on the streets, driving around anywhere. And that's, it's a really popular job with people like that because they can fudge their incomes when they report their taxes and kind of get away with living a more extravagant lifestyle. And there's a bit of a joke here in the UK. Your Uber driver will pull up in some kind of Lexus or some kind of Mercedes-Benz, and it's like, how are they affording that on a taxi income, with obviously the undertones being they're obviously doing something else to get their money, and this is meant to be a supplement to their income. But yeah, you know, it is a job that's they are jobs that are popular with criminal entities because it's just a way for them to easily launder some of their income. You know, there's only so much they can launder doing a job like that, but it still allows them to report certain amounts of their income to the HMRC, to the taxman, and of course get away with living a slightly more extravagant life than their job should realistically be able to provide for them. And with that, we're basically saying that, you know, these types of jobs do attract people who are more prone to criminality in general. And because a lot of them are seeing this as sort of something I'm doing on the side, something I'm doing to supplement my income, you're going to get a lot of people who then don't take this job very seriously. Of course, that's when you see these jerk posts where the delivery driver's eating the meal, or it's opened up. So unfortunately, there's a certain community in my area that kind of dominates this industry, the food delivery and taxi driving services, right? And locally, I've had a bit of an issue with this community with some of the members. And ever since that's happened to me, and I've kind of fallen out with some of these people, you know, I'm local, it's a local area, you know, word spread in this community, and I get some, you know, around here locally where these guys are living, I get some serious looks, I get some dodgy service, and you can bet, you know, 1 out of 2 meals I get delivered if I ever order food out come to me with the seals broken. And I've got photographs, I've obviously sent these pictures to Just Eat and to Uber and gotten my refunds where appropriate. You know, I take photographic evidence, and yeah, you know, I get my food oftentimes delivered with the seals broken or with something out of place, food just missing, food tampered with. You know, it does happen, and obviously, you know, it's not some, you know, to be completely honest, when I order food now, I use a fake name and everything to do so, and I collect where I can just to avoid having this kind of thing happen, because unfortunately the food industry locally, the takeaways and sort of the cheaper places are all dominated by this particular group. And because it's a local area, because it's the UK, it's not very big, you know, people stand out and people recognise you, and these guys have recognised me as someone who has had dealings, I've had negative interactions with members of this group. So I always get really dodgy service anyway, and you know, I get refunds, I report the problem, but these same faces are still doing the same jobs because unfortunately companies like Uber and Just Eat just really don't care about their drivers. They don't care. If there's a problem, they issue you a refund, barely ask you any questions. You can send them a photograph and then you get your refund, or they'll offer you like another meal or a replacement or whatever, right? Long story short, these companies don't care about who's doing their job. And it does then allow these, you know, because you know, I know this is changing soon, and I know there's talks of like Uber bringing in the minimum wage and so on and so forth. These people at the end of the day doing these jobs are not getting paid a genuinely livable wage, especially when, you know, these guys have families, these guys have got families to take care of, and this is something they're doing to supplement their income as opposed to their primary job, right? Because I know, again, a lot of taxi drivers moonlight with Uber. They do their sort of main taxi job, and then when they're on breaks or when they're off shift, they'll then turn on their Uber app and they'll do Uber drops to boost that taxi income, right? So, all that being said, it just goes to show that these companies don't care about their workers. They don't care, you know, who they are. As long as food's getting delivered, as long as taxes are getting done, and most of them are successful, these companies are happy. They're taking hefty cuts. And if they're not even providing living wages for the staff because they just don't care about them. And what that does is it leaves it wide open for undesirables to do these jobs. Now, I don't know if they're doing criminal background checks, but I'm highly suspecting that they don't. In fact, let me just go research that. So actually, just looking into that, there are, you know, now there are checks, there are criminal background checks, but they're being identified that they're very, very simple checks and they're very easy for people to get around them. Meaning that, again, them not caring who they're hiring, these criminal types and these people are still getting employment through them. But I do also know that in previous times, you know, a couple of years ago, there were no checks, because I've signed up to Just Eat in the past and I was never checked and was about to be sent my bag, my pouch to do the deliveries. So they have brought in checks now, obviously after all this external pressure, but the check is still very simple and very easy to get around. So again, they don't care who they're hiring. They're hiring undesirables. You know, when you do a face-to-face interview with someone, you can get a good sort of read on them, if they're super weird, super creepy, you know, if they can't speak English very well, etc. These are things that would get a person excused from their job. And I've had, again, taxis not know where they were going and not be able to read their maps and all this stuff, and just, you know, again, a normal job would interview a person, check their skills, assess them, and make sure they can actually perform the role. But with these delivery jobs, because they are simple jobs, all you need is a driver's license and you're good to go. There's no checks for, you know, the sort of sanity and the mental state of the person doing the job, and there's no looking into their background. You know, they're not checking social media pages, because a lot of drug dealers are caught out through their social media. They're not doing any of the basic things a normal job would do that shows that they care who's working for them. And as a result, we're getting a lot of weirdos and a lot of criminal types in these roles. And that's where we're getting these stories of food being stolen, people being harassed, taken to the wrong places, and just, you know, and things like this, like, you know, women being harassed by them and stuff. And like I say, I've heard personal stories from women in my life who've had this happen to them. It does happen. I've heard comments from drivers telling me, you know, personal information about some of their other passengers, like when they ping up on their computer and they're like, oh, I know this person, they work here and they do so and so. They're very involved, and it's just a mess. And I think if the companies actually took the time to interview these people and take it, you know, treat it like it's actually a job, we would see the general quality of these delivery drivers go up, and we would see less of this kind of thing happening in general. But there are people in prison, taxi drivers, who have raped women. There are reports, it does happen. It's been happening across Europe. And yeah, it's a grim situation, but it's easily resolved if these companies have that pressure to treat their drivers like actual employees. But then the other side of that, then there's going to be a lot of people, undesirable types, that can't get work. But at the end of the day, it's better they have no job than a job where they have access to vulnerable people that they can take advantage of. So, you know, definitely interesting, definitely affects us all over the place, and there is a simple solution there. It's just making sure that these companies such as Deliveroo, Uber, Just Eat have that pressure. I know America has a few different services. Over here, those are our main ones. And yeah, just making sure that these companies have that obligation to actually vet their staff properly, interview them, and make sure they're not, you know, complete weirdos, right? Because that's who's doing this. Only a weirdo drives a taxi and thinks that they have some kind of, some kind of, like, I want to say chemistry, or some kind of, like, potential romantic happening just because they're driving, because obviously someone getting into your car is quite personal, and they have people getting into their car, their space, and they're obviously looking at this and thinking, oh, I can shoot my shot, I can have a go at it with this person because they're in my personal space, my taxi, my car, and therefore I have some kind of, I can develop a situation here where I can talk to them and try and get them interested in me. And they're obviously thinking, this is, you know, it's kind of like when the really attractive person comes into your barista job and you serve them coffee and you get all nervous, like, oh, should I talk to them? And you hand them the brew and they're like smiling at you. You know, that's a workplace interaction where romance could happen. And these taxi drivers are looking at their role the same when people are getting into their cars and thinking, oh, this is my environment to have these interactions, and it's just causing a mess. Because when you get into this car, you're putting trust in that driver to basically not be a total weirdo, to be a good driver, to know their way, and to get you there as swiftly as legally possible. You don't expect them to hit on you and just make you uncomfortable getting into their space. So, interesting stuff. And again, if these companies were just regulated better, if they had the obligation to, because it's not, you know, this kind of thing doesn't just happen with these bigger names like Deliveroo, Uber, and Just Eat, because it also happens privately. Because especially here in my local community, the people who are driving privately for taxi ranks, for takeaways, are the same people doing the Just Eat stuff and the Uber stuff. It's all the same people. they're just doing multiple roles to get their maximum income. So if any of these companies had stopped and done a proper check on these people, a lot of these weirdos would have been fished out, weeded out. And unfortunately, there still isn't enough pressure on them to do that. So interesting stuff coming from Deliveroo. And again, this is just an issue that's just out there. Everyone's heard a story. We all know about this kind of thing happening. And yeah, it's up to us to make sure that pressure is being applied to these companies to just ensure they're not hiring total weirdos who are going to eat your food, tamper with your food, or harass people in their cars. And, there's a whole other video I could do about the taxi company and how it's sort of overlooked and underregulated and the reasons why that's a problem. But we will save that for another video. But, I thought, some of it's in what I just spoke about. But yeah, again, if there was more of an obligation for these companies to actually vet who they're hiring, we probably would see just higher quality workers out there doing these jobs in general. So something for us to think about. And we want our workers to have a living wage. And if these companies are not providing that, then they're basically getting away with below minimum wage labour, and we don't like that. We don't want that. We want people paid, and if they were forced to pay people full wages, it would also give them incentive to make sure they're getting high quality work as a result. So something for us to think about. But we're going to move on to the next post, which is it's a meme, and it's a meme from the subreddit Green and Pleasant. I've never been in this subreddit before, but it was recommended to me, probably because I've been talking about the Green Party. I don't even know if that's who this represents. I think it's more broader than that. But we have this post here, another one out of the UK. And it's can't you all just chill out and circle jerk about Greggs like all the other UK subs, simple as that. And it's basically it's a British meme, but I think this is applied to just a lot of us out there. And it's one side asking, why are the people in this place complaining so much? And then it's just a list of the various things that we're seeing happening here in this country, but stuff that I know is happening in other countries. And it's just, the list of stuff is just right on the nose. Inflation going up, wages not raising, neo-Nazis and right-wing conservative attacks and things like that happening. The cost of living going up, corrupt police officers. We can't afford to heat our homes. It's exorbitant how much they're charging. It's just a lot of the stuff that we are seeing and are dealing with. The unelected PM, like we've got a prime minister that no one wanted who lost the election and then still found themselves in power anyway as a last resort. Just a lot of stuff going on. And, there's one way of looking at it, which is the British way, the classic way of just kind of getting on with it. But if we stop for a minute and use the other side of our British brains, we can clearly identify there is just a lot of stuff going on. And something needs to be done about it. Something really needs to change. But unfortunately, we have a habit of just electing the same people causing these things, or that we're holding responsible for these things. It says here 12 years of Tories. We've had the Tories in charge for so long, and we're seeing all these things just slowly getting worse around us. Trying our best to just keep moving, but we've got to also remember that, look, this is our home, this is our country, and there's only so much that we can take before we have to start looking at alternatives. So I feel like this applies to us around the world. A lot of this stuff, especially in the Western world, is stuff that we're all seeing. And yeah, it is just important to just keep an eye on the stuff that's developing around us, because this isn't things getting better. None of these are signs that things are getting better. All of these are signs that things are just getting worse, including James Corden existing. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, a lot of this is a sign that things are just getting worse, and we can hold somebody responsible if we're willing to be honest with ourselves about who is responsible. But it requires us to be honest, and that's something that comes in short supply in the modern era. So with that, we'll move on to the next one. Now, this one I've picked out just because it's pure interesting. It's relevant to what we were talking about with the Ukraine and how that can come home to us and affect us, and how that can look in our lives. And it's basically just a short video. I won't play much of it, but it's posted. If I can get that full screen, because I can't see who posted it. Posted to Reddit by user 1954 is the best, but originally posted to TikTok by, I can't actually read that without going full screen. Okay. By THAO50211 on TikTok, and I won't play all of it, I'll just play a bit. But basically they're just demonstrating some some of the traps that were used during the Vietnamese War to fight back the Americans. And if you look, we've got some machinations, some pitfalls with spikes, spiky things, and the idea being that a person would trip and fall into one and find themselves essentially impaled by their own body weight with a bunch of sharp nails and spikes. You know, it'd be painful to fall down, it would hurt, you'd be stuck. You know, some of these are sort of those one-way things, like once you've gone in and you've stepped in and hurt yourself, you'd be stuck in there. Very nasty stuff. It'd be very painful and very debilitating for the person that fell in. They'd be cut, they'd be wounded, they'd be punctured, and for a lot of people, they'd be out of the fight. So, a side of war you don't think about, especially, you know, with sort of the media and the games we play and all this and whatever else, is this idea that there are just traps in the ground and you could be running around out there, not even notice because it's covered with just regular, you know, leaves and grass and stuff, fall into one of these and be completely taken out of the war, infected, very wounded, and a lot of pain, mutilated by a trap. And it's just the side of things you don't think about. Again, if, you know, invading countries and defences, like if we were to go invade the Ukraine or to go invade Russia, there'd be traps in the street. And obviously we saw this with the Afghanistan war, with you know, mines being placed and improvised explosives. And it just also goes to show that there's things we don't think about, such as just pitfalls and things with loads of spikes in them, that if a soldier fell in, if a civilian fell in, they would be very, very wounded. And, you know, a lot of this can be long-term debilitating as well, you know. Nasty stuff, but it's just another side to war that we might not consider, which is just a pitfall. It's the hole in the ground with spikes in it. Can do a lot of damage, a lot of harm, and can end lives and can take soldiers out of a war. So there's more to think about to do with the war stuff and how it can affect us at home. Sides of things you just don't think about. You could just be walking down the street or walking down, you know, through the woods, and someone's laid a trap that you can't see till you're in it, and then you can be very injured and very upset by it. And for the last post from Reddit, this one's, you know, a bit of a joke post, but it's an old one too. Millie Bobby Brown announces that she no longer believes the Earth is flat. The flat Earth whole topic just gets people just obliterated, slapped in the face, and called dum-dum for even bringing it up. It's an understandable response because people don't like having well-established ideas challenged. Personally, my attitude is people should be allowed to examine any theory they want, but people are also allowed to debate and argue against. I'm a kind of person who I'll listen to any theory at least once, just out of interest, just to hear what, you know, it's kind of like, show me your thinking. I definitely want to hear people's thinking. And, you know, I do feel like the Flat Earth movement was not, I won't even give them half, but I'll say that they sniffed out something and then kind of just threw it all away, throwing their chips at the Flat Earth. But I think just in general, looking at, you know, things like the space agencies, looking at stuff the government's saying, realising that a lot of these images and pictures that we get from space are CGI, and just questioning stuff in general, I think is good. I think it's healthy to ask these questions. It is a lot of money that's spent on space agencies, so it's important that they're being regulated and being looked at and just, you know, being kept in alignment. I think going into, you know, and for me, the Flat Earth falls apart because it's one thing to make the argument that there's some fuckery going on somewhere. You know, the budget's high, but the results are low. There's, you know, the pictures are all CGI pictures. We're not seeing the real stuff. And, you know, just asking these questions is important. But then putting a theory on there like the Flat Earth was ridiculous. Because if you want to say, well, there's not enough proof of this, how is there then enough proof of that? And as we all know with the logic, why are the other planets round? Why are the other stars round? Why would the Earth be the only thing that isn't? And just simple questions like that. I think it's healthy. It's challenging ideas. And yeah, but I think coming out with such a strong theory and giving the Earth a shape other than the one we already had, while also saying there's not enough evidence to prove that it was the original thing, it's just daft to then give us another shape to believe in, right? But I think questioning these organisations, questioning theories is the basis of science anyway. It's to test, retest and retest. And I think the whole Flat Earth movement was just another test for our tried and tested theories. And I just think that kind of thing is important. But coming out with such a strong statement as the Earth being flat. A little bit comical, a little bit ridiculous. It kind of delegitimized the whole point. And yeah, I'm glad that people are stepping away from that theory and looking at the situation differently. But yes, people, yes, you should be questioning these things. You should be asking those questions because it's important to challenge ideas, especially ideas that, let's face it, a lot of what we know about space is a mystery still. There are things that we haven't fully explained yet. And keeping our minds open for alternate theories and possibilities, not that the Earth is flat, but more along the lines of, does that thing really work the way we think it does? That is important. And as we're seeing constantly from the astrophysicist world, these ideas are changing and evolving and morphing. So they were right to be questioned. It was wrong to leap to such a strange, comical conclusion. Or maybe not comical, but just so dramatic. But at the same time, it was right to ask these questions in the first place before we started putting our own theories onto it. And we're right to question, and there's nothing wrong with being wrong. And when a scientist says, I think there's something off about this theory, goes to test it, finds out the results are actually there's nothing off and they're getting the same results, then it's a good thing that they were wrong because they've now verified that the original theory was right. But it's only by asking those questions and challenging those ideas do we further our understanding of them. And let's just not be scared to challenge things regardless of how tried and tested they are, because things change all the time, especially in the world of science, and we've got to keep our minds open, even if there are ridiculous. Because at the end of the day, someone thinks the moon is made of cheese. They really believe that. They really think that it doesn't affect me in any way. And every time they bring up their cheese theories, it just gives me a chance to challenge what I believe to be true, and just to reaffirm in my own mind that I'm correct. And again, another thing that stood out from this whole debate and this whole conversation was this concept that we are all in some way responsible for what the other guy thinks, right? He comes out and he says the moon is made of cheese. Then I think it's my duty to correct him because what I know and believe, I believe is more true than what he believes, right? And I can say because science this and because school that, whatever the reason may be, I'm effectively saying that my point of view is more correct than theirs and that I have some kind of duty or responsibility to correct them. The truth is I have no responsibility to do that. I can do that if I want to, and if I'm an educator, I might be more inclined to do so. But if I'm just a regular person and I believe the moon's made of rock and he believes it's made of cheese, that's up to them. I have no responsibility, no obligation to correct them. I can mention my side, I think it's cheese, well, I think it's rock. They can say, well, I still think it's cheese, and I can go, fair enough. And to be completely honest, right, If another person came along and said, I think the moon is also a rock, and then another person comes and says, well, I think it's cheese, I actually kind of want to hear what the cheese guy has to say more than the rock guy, because me and the rock guy already agree anyway, whereas the cheese guy, I would love to hear how they got there, and I'd really listen, because I'd be listening to find out where they went wrong, right? So it's still worth listening to the cheese guy, just simply to hear where he got his theory. And at worst, you get some kind of comical Family Guy-esque joke about how he thinks the moon's cheese because he saw a piece fall off. And then on the other side, you get a really interesting conversation just about this alternate way of looking at the stars, right? And it's still cool. It's like science fiction. And I do think, if someone says, I think the Earth's flat, I would much rather sit and listen to them talk for an hour about why they think that, than to hear the same theory I already know, because I feel like I'd learn more hearing the alternate theory, and if nothing else, again, it gives me an alternate way of looking at what I believe to be correct. It's like, alright, they think that because of that, but even though all of that was wrong, there was a piece of that I can take away and go, well, actually, that part is interesting, and I might look more into this particular part. It doesn't affect my overall view and my overall conclusion, but it has given me an alternate look on just some part of it, which you can also see is where they might have gone off a different direction. You won't do that, because you obviously have more knowledge on the issue. So it's not something to be threatened by, it's not something to attack and be scared of, it's something that's really fascinating, and I for one can listen to a flat earther talk all day just simply because I'm so fascinated by how they've come to their conclusion. It's interesting, it's goofy, but I like a bit of entertainment, and I don't think it does any harm. We have schools, we have education institutes. I trust them to teach our kids that the Earth is a ball and it's a solar system. Some guy on YouTube, while he can put some funky ideas into their head, at the end of the day, when they go sit and do their exams, they're still going to be writing that the Earth's a globe to pass their exam. So it doesn't bother me that these theories are out there, and in fact I think it just makes all of us smarter when we analyse this information and draw different conclusions. We're all engaging in the science community, and we should be doing that. So I don't know, it's funny stuff, but like I say, it's just fascinating to me. It's fascinating that people have these alternate ideas about the universe and how things work, especially when science is still figuring stuff out and hasn't got the answers. It does leave room for wonderment and for imagination, and that's one of the things that we like about space. It's the big unknown. We want to know what's out there, and that's why we dedicate so much money to trying to figure out what's out there. So I think we should be open to these ideas, even if they seem daft, just to hear the way of thinking, just to hear what drew you to that conclusion, right? And we can all make the argument that, well, someone said it on YouTube, so I believed it. In this day and age, everyone is only believing stuff they've heard on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. There's no point pretending that's not true. That is how things are happening. You know, Donald Trump's whole famous thing for a while was being on Twitter and talking to his followers through Twitter. There's things like 4chan and other things where people are passing around political ideas and knowledge. So pretending that hearing something on YouTube just automatically invalidates it is false, because there are informative sources on there. People are using YouTube for their college dissertations and sourcing, creators on YouTube. It is happening. It is the same. It is just research at the end of the day. It just is research. You don't need somebody else to tell you if something's right or wrong. Because if someone presents you with a theory, at the end of the day, what should you be doing? Checking it out anyway, right? So use your own brain. You're smart enough to be able to argue with these people. You're smart enough to be able to have them out there without worrying about it affecting you in some way. And again, one more thing I'll say about this, just to bring it back to sort of the free speech stuff. Oops, I'm pressing keys. One of the things I'll say to bring it back to the free speech stuff is just this idea that by telling them that they're not allowed to share that idea, that sets a precedent that if I have an idea that other people don't want to hear, I can now be shut down. And I'd rather live in the world where we're free to express our ideas no matter how wacky, than living in a world where we're limited on what we're allowed to say. And I just think that's something we should pay attention to as well. So that kind of concludes the news stuff anyway. That, some interesting stuff from Reddit and in some news. And yeah, we'll be keeping up to date on everything, and we'll be checking the headlines and making sure we are aware of what's going on out there. So now that we finished that section, we're going to take a look at a video game. Now, it's called World War II Bunker Simulator. It's available on Steam. I believe it's on sale right now. I haven't played it. I haven't given it a go. I don't know what to expect. I know it's supposed to be some kind of survival experience. Other than that, I'm going in there blind, and we're going to go in there together and see what this game is like and give it a little review. So with that, let's move on to the game. So here we are. We have World War II Bunker Simulator. There's no music coming from it right now. I wonder if I came in and turned the music down. It's just been sat open in the background, so it might have yeah, so I've taken the music out because I didn't know if it was copyrighted. But it's just some nice army music. But what we're going to leave is the sound effects, so we can hear some metal being whacked or a gun being loaded and some birds chirping. So we've got streamer mode on. This takes out the Nazi symbolism. And with that, we're going to jump in. So I've got no save, so we're going to go in brand new. Save slot 1. And we're going to get in there and just see what type of experience this game is. So it's called World War II Bunker Simulator. So we're obviously going to be some kind of World War II soldier. It's meant to be a survival experience, so we're obviously going to be, I don't know, stranded in a bunker or something along those lines. And yeah, we will find out once the game loads. So we'll skip to where it's loading. So the game is now loaded. It took a bit. I actually had to restart the game because I think it had been sat open a bit too long. But we're in, we've loaded. It loaded quicker the second time. And with that, we're going to jump into World War II Bunker Simulator and just see what type of game this is. So press space to continue. We've got the WASD keys to move. We have what looks like a dead Nazi on the floor. We have some weaponry here. And we've got a soldier over here waiting for us. So we've got standard movement controls, crouch with control. We're going to run over to the soldier and just see what the situation is. So we can run and jump. Sprint jump up, and it looks like our friend was just shot. I don't know if he just shot himself. It looks like he shot himself. We're going to take his weapon and press 2 or scroll to pick the pistol from your inventory, and then left mouse button to shoot. So, no, there was someone in the bunker, that's who shot him. We need to get our gun out, which we don't know how to do. Right, it's I for inventory. Oops. We want to put this on a toolbar, I'm guessing. Oh, there we go, we can put it in slot 2. And now we can use this pistol that has, looks like 1 bullet. So we're going to headshot him, and we shut the bunker behind us, I guess. Oh, it still says we have one bullet. Can't close that. Oh, wait, F. Nope, we can't close that. So we're going to just walk in. So there are still swastikas on the wall, even though there's not supposed to be. I think that can get us in trouble. We're going to go back to the main menu and just see if that setting turned itself off. It's on, but we still had, as you saw, Nazi flags in the game. So I might not be able to play this, because if it's going to show me Nazi flags, then I don't think we're allowed to show those on YouTube. And if that is the case, then we might be stuck. So I'm going to go check that, and I will get back to you in just a moment. So I just had a look. I think we'll be okay with them. I don't really know the rules surrounding it, but we'll press on, and if it gets claimed or gets me in trouble, then I'll know for the future not to show those kinds of things. But streamer mode is on, so we shouldn't see too many of those symbols around. There goes our friend, soldier buddy. We'll take his gun, put it in the right slot, and then we should be able to kill the Nazi. So we have more bullets than I think we've got, but it's only showing 1 out of 0. I guess this is some kind of unlimited round gun. We don't want to die, so we're going to be careful around the corners. Try not to focus on those symbols everywhere and hope that it doesn't get me in trouble. So we've got a sleeping guard. We just threw our gun for some reason, and I think we want to probably take him out. He's asleep in there. Oh, we've lost the gun. Did I just throw it? I've lost my gun now. We got all sorts going on here. Me and my inventory. So we've got tools, spare parts, we've got some ammo for a different gun, and then we've still got this pistol that has unlimited ammo. So we're going to just shoot this guy. I think I was meant to use the knife, but he didn't give me the option to pick it up. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I could have used this knife to kill him, but we shot him. No big deal. We'll add this to our pocket. C. And get our gun back out, which has now got no bullets. So V to take, and then yeah, we've got stuff just laying around. Pick this up, more ammo, add it to the backpack. I think that looks to be that. So let's go back and go through this door here. We've got no ammo, so we're going to have to be careful. Oh, but we have found a rifle. We're going to pick that up because we don't have any bullets in the pistol, and just use that. It's got 20 rounds in it, and we should be good to go. So we're going to... Alright, so I've got to assign that to slot 1. Being a rifle, it fits in the bigger slot. I think we can put the axe and the knife in our hands, and that should be that. So we've got a rifle out, we've got some random parts. I do not have a weapon in my handheld inventory yet. I don't know what that means. A weapon in our handheld inventory. Maybe it's because we put these in, so we'll take these out. See if that sorts it. No, it hasn't registered as putting the gun in his hand. So we will do that again. Take this out of his hand, put it back in his hand, and no, we still can't progress. We'll put the gun away. No. Okay. Well, we seem to have hit a wall here. He's saying we've got no weapon in our handheld section. It looks like we do. Maybe I need to put... No, the pistol's the only thing that will go there. The rifle and the pistol. But we'll put these back here. We'll try to go through without the rifle. Okay. And we'll go put the rifle in our pockets. And... Yep, it's not letting us through. Oh! It registered it that time. And now we can progress. So we'll shoot the dancing Nazi. Take his gun maybe. Yep, a Luger. And we can... Oh, we can't loot his body, it won't let me go. So never mind, we'll continue on. There's bound to be more soldiers about. Let's see what's in here. Okay, it's clear. Oh, no, he's spotted us. But he's a terrible shot and we got him. He's obviously protecting the rations. Not the Russians, the rations. And then, yep, we'll just leave all that there. And we'll keep clearing the bunker. So moving further on, got a room to the left and then something around here. So we'll check here first. Get it out the way. It's clear, there's no one in here. Got some cigarettes, some communication stuff. It's obviously at the heart of their operations. And we'll go down this hallway and see what's going on over here. We've got some kind of valve. I don't speak German, so I don't know what that says. We'll keep going. Oh, and someone's just thrown a grenade, and he bounced back and has thusly blown them up instead of us. So that part of the bunker is inaccessible. But it looks like the bunker is now cleared, and we've got to go back and search the bodies of the dead Nazis. So we've got another door we can't use, and this is obviously the firing window of the bunker. We've got access to all that, and now we're going to head back and search those bodies. So we seem to be, we've just taken over this bunker. Our friend got shot at the entrance, but we've managed to clear the place, and I'm guessing that we now own it. So we're going to go search the bodies and see what they've got on them. So we've got some ammunition, and we have some kind of rifle, but I think it's the same rifle we've already got from this one. So we'll go check the rest of them. Is it going to let me get to him now? Yep. He has nothing on him. And just some stuff. So we're going to run back without going away. Check the other two bodies. So this guy has nothing on him, and the last body in the bed, we got to crouch. He has some meat, some pork meat. So it looks like our needs there in the bottom left. We've got looks like our health, our stamina, our hunger, our thirst, and our carry limit. So we'll have to keep an eye on those. And it said M to open or close the mission window. So use the radio transceiver to pick up tasks for the day. Use the headphones on the radio to receive the message and accept missions. So we're going to go do that. Yeah, the streamer mode clearly doesn't work. The Nazi flags are everywhere. But it's fine. We're going to move on. So we've got the headphones and the transceiver. Receive message, decrypt password. Okay, so we're getting a message. Looks like it's in Morse code. And we've got to decipher the code to get our daily message. So that first symbol looks like it could be a number. It's like the number 4. So 4. Then the next line is maybe 5. Then we have what looks like it could be a letter. No, I think it's another number. So that's the number 8. And then we have 2 dashes, which is M. If we can find M. No, maybe not. Well, let me type that. Maybe. No. So what could that be other than M? That last number, the last symbol. Well, it could be anything. It does look like it's supposed to be an M. but it won't let me input a letter. It looks like it has to be... No, it won't let me input anything. Oh, there's a space there, that's why. So 4, 5, 8, M. Okay, so let me do it. We enter that, and it says the password is correct. You're hurt, heal yourself. Look for bandage, alcohol, or tablets to regenerate your life. Bandages also stop the bleeding. So we're looking for a first aid kit. Even though our health's not even that low, we're going to have to get our health to 100%. So we'll run over here, and here we've got some bandages. Bandages regenerate a small amount of life. Attention, only a bandage stops bleeding completely. Use it wisely. So these seem important, so we're going to take them, but we won't use these. We've got some pills, spiritus, which is alcohol I'm guessing, and then a bunch of medical tools. We've got some guns, some ammo, and whatever tools these are. So we need to get our health up. So bandage, alcohol, or tablets. We're going to go with the alcohol, just to take the edge off. Generates a small amount of life cheers, and that's what we need. So we're going to hold F to heal, and use this to clean our wound, and we have full health. And we're also drank. So F10 to show or hide the clock. You can go explore the bunker or go to sleep. You have free time until 6 AM. I think it was F10 to open the... No, that's the wrong one. F10 to get the clock. So we've got till 6 AM to do whatever we fancy. So we can explore, or we can just go to sleep. I think we've seen everything, and with that we'll just sleep until 6 AM. While the bunkers are asleep, no daily missions are active. When you sleep, bodies disappear. So we're going to lose these bodies and wake up and start the day fresh. Wake up laser. Game progress is saved every day at 6 AM. And that's day 1. We are awake. And my lighter isn't working. And with that, we're ready to go pick up our next tasks of the day. So we pick up the headphones, use the transcoder thingy, and we decipher the next password. So already that looks like J, E, and then we have 2 dashes, 1 dot, 1 dash, which I'm struggling to see. 2 dashes, 1 dot, so that's like Q, and then we have 1 dash, 1 dot, which looks to be, not seeing it, 1 dash, 1 dot. Does anybody see it? I'm looking. 1 dash, 1 dot. Oh, it looks like an N. So we put an N. Oh, and it said we got the password wrong, so we're going to have to try again. So 2 dashes and 3 dots. 2 dashes and 3 dots is 2 dashes, 3 dots. My eyes must be bad because I'm struggling to see now. 2 dashes, 3 dots. Oh, right, I'm looking in the wrong section. That would be a number. So that's the number 7, not 6, 7. Then we have 1 dot and 4 dashes, which is the number 1. Then we have 5 solid dashes, which is 0. And then we have dot, dash, dot, dot, which is L. And that is the correct password. So we can get our missions for the day. And it's giving us a picture of wood, an empty stove, and then a stove with wood in it. Light a fire in the stove. It has to burn in the oven to use it for cooking. So we need to find some wood, and then we can put that wood presumably in the oven, wherever the oven is. Now it says we have some wood. We've got 1 wood. So if we find the oven, we might be able to get it working straight away. But we've got to, of course, find it. We've got the bunker rooms. It's not giving me a map marker, so we're going to have to find this manually. So where's the stove? Could it be in here? That's the bedroom. Oh, there we go. That looks like the stove. So we've got a percentage above it. We've got 1 piece of wood. And we're going to fire up. First, put the wood in the stove. So check out inventory. Alright, we don't actually have any wood on us, but there is a wood symbol there. So we obviously need to go find some actual wood. some wood here, we can't use that. Maybe we need our axe to break the wood up or something. No. Okay. Oh wait, there's some wood right there, just in the corner. So dump this war trash. I don't know what that means. Anyway, we're gonna put the wood in there, but we can't because we have to clean the ash first. I don't know how we do that. We can pick this thing up. Oh yeah, there we go. And we can use that to clear the ash away. Well, we put wood in the other side anyway, so we're okay. And we have done that, so we'll keep a hold of this if we can. No, we cannot. So we'll put it down and pick up some more wood. Or we can just do a couple in here. Now we'll just put the one piece in and we'll fire that up, and we have a small fire going. And now I'm guessing we'd be able to cook. So F6 for the next mission. Cook something in a pot. Stir the dish. Burnt food will not complete the mission. So now we need to cook something. So we'll go and take some of our rations. Take this sausage and an apple. And we will try and get them in the pot. Put these in our pockets. And then we can... I'm not entirely sure what we can do. Maybe we need to put the sausage in. Yep, we put the sausage in. We will take the apple. Is there anything we can put with the sausage? Maybe not. It looks like we're just gonna have to yeah, just cook the sausages. I need to stir the food when the cook in progress bar reaches blue. So we wait for the temperature to go up and then we need to stir it. Hopefully I don't need some special tool. We're about to find out. When it gets to the blue, I'm guessing we press E to stir it. So we'll see in just a moment. And blue, so we stir it. And it's turned purple and the food has been stirred. Wait for it to finish cooking. Our hunger is halfway, so we are due to eat something. And with that, we have some sausages, so we're going to eat that. And our hunger has gone up. So raw food regenerates less hunger. The dishes in the cookbook are the most filling. When the hunger bar is at 0, the health bar and energy bar slowly drops. So the hunger we get, the less our health and the less our stamina we'll get. We have got a cookbook. It tells us how we can mix certain meals. So lots of potatoes. So lots of meat mixed with potatoes, really. And we'll come back to this when we have some of those ingredients. I think we've got onion, but I don't think we have any potatoes. But, you know, we'll figure out how to get a hold of some. So burnt food will not complete the mission. Oh, so that didn't count. Maybe because we were supposed to use the other thingy, but we are still a little bit hungry, so we will cook something in the pot instead. And hopefully that will complete the mission. So we've got an onion, so we can probably make something from here. I think the salmon, if we've got salmon, then we can make salmon and onion. But I don't know if we have any, so we'll find out. Oh, we've got potatoes in a tin. We have got potatoes. Because in that case, we can just cook sausage potatoes, lamb potatoes. Do we have lamb? We've got raw meat, we've got sausage, canned meat, and potatoes. Okay. Well, I don't really know what we can make. We're going to be burning through a lot of food, but we'll just make this steak thingy in the pot, which makes a lot of sense. Don't question it. And we'll put in the potatoes and hope that makes us a nutritious meal. So we've got an empty can we don't want. We'll just put that over here. And we need more fire to cook with. Put that in there and fire it up. But unfortunately we can't use the pot. I'm guessing we need water, of which we have none. No access to right now. We've got coffee. Oh yeah, we've got a canteen, so I wonder if the canteen is filled with water. I'm gonna grab that. Yep, it looks like it's got water in it. But we can't add that to the pot. Okay, that's problematic. We can't cook in the pot without water by the looks of it. And we don't have any water. Oh wait, no, we've got a big tap here. So if we grab the pot, come to the tap, the spigot, but no, it's not letting me fill it. Can we put that on the floor? No, we can't use that. We'll put this back. We'll try with the canteen. Can we fill it? No, we cannot. So that's a problem. Oh, we've dropped it. We need water, but we don't know how to get any water. Oh, we've got a bucket. There we go, we can fill the bucket with water. That solved the problem. There we go, full bucket. Now we can hopefully fill the kettle. Yes, we've filled the kettle. Put this water down somewhere. Spill it everywhere. And I'll be waiting for the water to boil on the stove. So hopefully this will allow us to cook our meal. Hopefully it's a good meal. I should really check the cookbook, but never mind. We'll see how this goes when it's done. So we're bringing the water to a boil now. It's nearly done. And we're going to grab that. Oh, we can make tea and coffee. Well, we really wanted to add it to the pot, but of course it's not letting me do that. So maybe we need to go straight from the bucket to the pot, but we're about to run out of fire to cook with. But we'll hurry up and fill this bucket again. And I guess we needed to boil it in the pot, not separately. When I cook at home, I always boil the kettle first and then just bring that to a boil. But here we're using fresh water. Yep, it's gone in there. But now the fire has gone out. So we're going to have to use yet another piece of wood. But now we have to clear the ash. Because of course we've made a mess of it all. I don't know where our thingy's gone. I think it's up here actually. Grab our scraper. Clear out all the ash from the previous wood. Because of course it'll make our burning inefficient. We'll put this back down. And now we want to grab this wood back, but we can't, so we're firing it up there, and hopefully doesn't mind which side the wood's in. So we're boiling the water. We've got to stir it when we get to the blue zone again. So we'll wait for the blue zone. And then we'll stir it and hopefully have ourselves somewhat of a meal. Some boiled meat. So we're getting to the blue. We'll stir it. It's gone purple. And now we wait for the meal to complete. So we did say pot. I just thought they were both pots, but clearly I don't know my cooking utensils. But now we're cooking and we are done. We've got 3 portions. My rule, cooked food satisfies hunger more than raw food. I think we all genuinely agree with that. We're going to have a portion of this, fill our hunger right up, and we're ready for our next mission. So F6. Now we've got to make coffee. Fortunately we did just boil the kettle. So we're going to quickly grab our cup. We've got 10 uses of coffee, 10 uses of tea. We're going to put our cup on the table, grab some coffee, put that in the cup, and then it looks like we just add water to that. Milk is a luxury we don't have. We'll grab our coffee, pour it in the cup, and boom, we've got a fresh cup of coffee to drink. Pick that up, and F to drink it. And our thirst is going up and our energy is going up. Well, coffee, tea and chocolate regenerates energy. When you sleep, your energy recovery depends on how long you sleep. When the bar is at 0, the life bar drops after 2 days of not sleeping. When you have little energy, you also move slower. So we need to keep our energy up to move quickly and make sure we sleep regularly to ensure we've always got enough energy for everything we need to worry about. We're going to close the stove doors. I don't know if that, I was hoping to put the fire out, but it didn't. And anyway, it looks like all our needs are met and we're ready for our last mission of the day. So, prepare all weapons in defensive positions. Use the repair toolbox to fix all the broken guns, clean them and load them if necessary. And F9 will show or hide the status of our weapons and the problems that we'll have to deal with to get them running. So we're going to head over to the various gun fixtures and we're going to get them cleaned and working. Moment, my phone's ringing. It's always people, it's always like scammers and, numbers you just know you don't need to answer. Many people ever call me insurance fraud scammers. But anyway, we're at our first gun. It was F9 to show us our status of this gun. This is the Magic 42. I don't know which one that is. But it looks like this gun here just needs some ammo loading in. So, weapon is damaged. I need to fix it. So we're going to look for what looks like this thing. Stick this on the gun. And then we need to reload it. Now it was the 7.62s. Is that correct? No, 9.2s, my mistake. And we're going to put those into the gun. No, maybe not. We're going to find the right ammo. Another type of 792 here. We're also going to take these tools out just in case we need them. And then we're going to try find the correct ammo for this gun. It doesn't seem to be either of these. We can't do anything with the tools. So we need to put this stuff away. So this also says the weapon is damaged. It looks like it might just need some general repairs, So use the repair toolbox to fix all the broken guns. So we need a repair toolbox. These are just tools and spare parts. So we obviously need to go look for our toolbox in order to fix this gun and get it working again. So we're going to go look for him. Go outside. We've got a gun fixture down there, one there. But what we need is our toolbox before we can do anything with them. We're going to go looking for that. There was a supply room where it might be located, and we're just looking around for our toolbox. We're going to follow these corridors. One of these rooms was an armory, and I'm thinking the toolbox will be located in there, so we'll keep going. Follow this corridor. We've got a bucket. So there's the other gun. Looks like we'll need to, there's a couple of them sitting around here. We can stick that on there. Start to identify which gun is which. No toolbox yet. We'll keep looking for the armory. We've got another door. So we can open the doors by looking at the handle, but this is the wrong section for what I'm looking for. Keep looking around. Communication room. So eventually we'll figure out the layout of this place, but right now it's a bit of a guesswork. But this is the kitchen anyway. It's not going to be in here. Bedroom. So the armory must be here. No, that's not the armory either. One of these rooms is an armory, right? It was this one. So we can see different types of ammo. So we've got 7.63, 7.92, which we have some of those, and 9mm. So we'll take another one of these just in case it's this one. But we are looking ultimately for, we need to proceed to put that in our backpack. We are looking for a toolkit so that we can repair all the guns. I use the repair toolbox. I'm not seeing one in here. I see some tools but no toolbox. So maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Perhaps it was just having the right type of ammo. So we're going to take all of these because we don't know at this point which type we need. Well, you might, but I didn't pay enough attention, so I don't know. We're going to go back to the gun and we're going to try this ammo. See if this is the correct stuff. So I'm seeing use, weapon damaged, so that doesn't seem to be the way. So it's 792.57, 79233, 79257. So this is the stuff we need. We're not able to load the gun because it's in need of repairs. But I don't know how to repair. We just have tools and spare parts. We can't seem to actually use them. Oh, there we go. I see it now. E to repair. Just gotta get it right. There we go. So you do use these boxes, and then you can repair stuff. So now we're repairing the gun, and then I'm guessing we reload it last finally, unless it's already got ammo, because I'm thinking this is one of those bottom two, R1 or R2. I'm guessing that stands for room, and then the other one is T for trench. So this gun is now repaired, and we'll see if it's combat ready. So use. Yep, we're on it. Nice wide view of the trees and some of the hills. Can't ADS any further than we have, but we can, I'm assuming, fire around. So gun is working, gun is functional, gun has ammo. And with that we're going to move on to the other room with the other gun, which is, that's the one I saw all the way at the very end. And yes, there was ammo in there already. So down this corridor right to the end. And I believe it's in the room here. So here's another one of the guns we need to repair. Make sure, yep, we can't use it. Get our toolbox out, get that spot right, and we can now repair it. So that's going to be 2 working guns in the bunker, and then we just need to fix the outdoor guns, such as the AA, I assume, and the mortars. So we're repairing this gun, and yep, it's got armor. We can see it on the left. and both the guns inside the bunker are repaired. So we're going to head outside and fix the last guns. See, the first one looks like, I don't know if that's cleaning, and then all three of them need some ammo, which we have plenty on us. So we're going to head outside and check these guns and see what we need to do to get them running. So we have our AA gun. We can use it, but it's out of ammo. And here we have some ammo clips on the floor. It's a different type of ammunition, but fortunately the ammo was nearby. The gun is now loaded and ready to shoot down some planes. And now we go down into the trenches and go fix the trench gun. We're going to try cut across, climb over, and here we are at the trench gun. So this one needs an ammo clip. I don't know if there's any laying around, but we have got a box we can put stuff in. But it looks like we're going to have to bring one from inside, because we don't have one on us. Yep, can't do anything without a clip. So we're going to go inside and pick one up. But while we're out here, we'll go to that other gun and fix that first. Get that out the way, and then it'll just be the trench gun left. Climbing over is a bit of a hassle, but we're over. We're going to run over to this big thing. It looks like a tank mortar or something. And we're going to fix this up. So there's a mine right there, we didn't trigger it. But yep, gotta watch out for traps, booby traps. And yep, we're looking for a clip for this big gun. Well, we've got the missiles, can we just load one of these in? Oh yeah, there we go, we can just put a mortar straight in there. And this is an anti-tank gun. It also needs cleaning, so we're going to give it a scrub while loaded, because it would live dangerously. And there we go, the tank gun is ready for action, should any tanks arrive to this position. So all that's left now is the trench gun, so we're going to look for the entrance, go inside and take the clip from the floor, the magazine, and hopefully that's everything we need to do as far as the guns are concerned. So time's ticking, it's almost 7 PM. We need to go to bed soon, so we've got to be quick. See some laid here, so I'm going to grab one of these and just head back to the trench gun and get that operating wherever it was located. I believe it was down here. Just going to follow the path. Go crouch below, and yep, there we go. We have found our trench gun. We'll stick that on there, and just like that, everything is complete. So now we've got to go send the message back to let them know we've done everything. And we've got till 6 AM to get that message out there. It shouldn't be an issue because it's only 7 PM. Shut the doors for safety, and we're going to head back inside and send this radio message. So we're looking for the bedroom, which is this way, and here we are with the radio. Pick up our headphones, and we're going to send an encrypted password. So we need to send a message, so it's telling us that we need a J, so it looks like I've got to use the 1 and 2 key to put in the Morse code for the letter J. So J is there, and it's 1 dot and 3 dashes. So we're going to send that. Then the number 7 is 2 dashes and 3 dots. 8 is 3 dashes and 2 dots. And N is 1 dash 1 dot. And just like that, we are done. So we can choose a reward for completing our missions, and that reward should probably be a grenade. I'm going to take a grenade as our reward, so we're better equipped, and with that we are good. So every few days you'll receive a delivery. You'll receive them as drops. It'll either be a wooden or metal box, or they will be delivered by car. You'll receive food and medicine in wooden chests, and in metal boxes it will be weapons, ammunition and tools. So daily mission, take a parachute drop and pick up the delivery the driver has already left. So that's something to look out for. We'll be getting airdrops from our allies. And with that, we now have free time with which we can use to end the day. So hunger and thirst is, not so bad, so we're just going to sleep, and we will deal with those needs tomorrow of our next set of missions. Do you want to sleep? All equipment left too far from the bunker may be stolen. The looters are just waiting for such war loot. I think we're fine. I don't think there's anything out there, so we can just sleep and not worry about it. We're sleeping. the day has gone, progressed, and it's now day 2, and we're up and ready for another day of bunkering. So we use our transmission, pick up our next message for the day, wait for it to come through. So we've got 1 dash, which looks like a T. We have 1 dot and 3 dashes, which appears to be 1 dot and 3 dashes. Not seeing it. Right, at this moment, 1 dot and 3 dashes looks like a J, which we've seen before, we should have known that. So TJ, now 2 dots and 3 dashes, which is the number 2. 2, not 3. And then 1 dot and 2 dashes is one we've seen before, I think. And I still don't know which one it is. 1 dot and 2 dashes would be... anybody see it? It looks like it's a W. So we'll put that in and the password is correct. And we accept our missions for the day. So gain new levels in encryption to allow more time before the password expires. Okay. So we level up as we do those and we get better at them. And the enemy infantry is attacking, kill them all. So we're under attack. And we've got to rush over to our machine gun station and fend them off. Now, I'm not sure which is 1. This is 2. So we need to go find room 1, which is the other side of the bunker. And we've got to hold off the enemy before the overrunners and take the bunker. So we're looking for the room. I believe it's this one. MG stand 1. And with that, we're going to get on the gun and defend our position. So we're looking for invaders. We're going to do our best to hold them off. And we're just waiting for any sign of them coming through the trees. I'm not seeing anything just yet, but we'll keep an eye out. Oh, we've got one running in. We're going to fire. Prevent him from advancing. We've hit him and he's gone down. And we're going to keep our eyes peeled because there's 8 of them. And we need all 8 of them to die. So we're looking. Oh, I see some gunfire in the trees, so I'm going to fire back. I hope I'm aiming this right, I have no idea, but I've been hit. But we've taken him out. We've got ammo left. Getting shot up, they're on the left. We're going to just mow them down as they come down the hills. Taking a few of them out. I see more of them running from there. We're going to shoot into the fog. Looks like we took one down. I see gunfire over here. We're going to fire there, but I don't think we can hit him. We are getting hit though by the guy on the left. So we're going to take them down and try not to die. We're doing okay for health, but we're struggling to hit this guy who's hiding behind some kind of rock or tree. So we've only got 2 bullets left, so we're going to have to switch weapon. We're going to pull out the rifle and we're going to just try hit him with this because we can get a better view of him. Oh no, it looks like we did get him with the last bullet and he is down. But we've also run out of ammo, so we're going to pick up another one of these and just stick this on there so that we're not left caught off guard for the next time we get attacked. So we've completed that. We've killed the invaders. I'm guessing now we can go out, loot their bodies and just see what kind of rewards are waiting for us for taking them out. So I just seen a little wood chopping station. I'm guessing that's where we get more firewood. But we're going to just look for a body and just see what kind of rewards we get for taking them down. So they were over to sort of the left side. I don't know how close they got, but we're just looking for bodies. I think I see one over there. And we'll go see what kind of supplies they were carrying. So we've got some bodies here. We'll search. We've got some potatoes and we've got some pills for our health, which we might take one of those just to get some health back. We're able to hide the bodies. I'm not sure what purpose that will serve. Oh, but if we take pills they give us full health, so we better save those and not waste them. So we'll just leave our health for now till we find some alcohol. But we'll search this body, nothing there, but we have got some rifles. I don't know if we can pick those up. Control click will allow us to, it's like split stacks of ammo and stuff. But yeah, no, can't pick their weapons up, but we can. Or maybe it's because we've got a rifle in our hands already. We can try that, see if it will allow us to pick up another one. Nah, it's not going to let us do that. No problem, we've got a pretty solid gun anyway, and we've got a couple of them. But we'll see if we can find any more bodies. One over here. And just see if they've got any more supplies for us. But no, there's not much there. They're not showering us in gifts, but we got some food, some medication, nothing, so that's alright. I'm not really seeing the other bodies, but I feel like we've probably got a general idea that we're going to get some ammo and we're going to get some rations from the dead soldiers. So pretty good. They haven't taken the bunker back, we managed to hold them off, but we are alone. It's only a matter of time before we do get overrun, so we're going to have to be careful. We're going to pick up these pieces of wood because we're going to have to eat soon. And with that, we're going to head back inside and progress with the next mission. So the next mission is take a parachute, drop delivery. They're going to send us in a drop, yep. You can hear it overhead. And we're to head out there and go collect that. So see if we can spot where it lands. Oh, it looks like that's it over there. So quite far from the base actually. So it looks like we're going to head out into the world and do some exploring. It's not telling us where the rations are, but we can see them in the distance. And we're just going to run over there and see what awaits us in the drop. So it's taken us quite far from the base. I don't know if there's potential for getting attacked, but I imagine there is. So we'll keep our eyes peeled. Try not to get into a fight with any soldiers while we head over. Yep, now we've got a waypoint guiding us towards the drop. So we're going to head over there and see what's waiting for us. It is quite a distance. We don't have like a map or any way of knowing where we're going, but we have got this little arrow that's appeared pointing us. So we'll just have to rely on that. I see some buildings, shacks in the distance. I'm guessing we can explore for supplies. But we're heading over to the delivery drop and hopefully we're getting close. Yep, we found it. It's this box right here. And inside the drop we actually got quite a lot of stuff. So we got another clip for our guns. We've got plenty of ammo. We got our grenade that we requested. And then we've also got some kind of rockets. Oh, well, we are being attacked. Something's attacking us. I think we're being shot. Oh, we're taking a lot of damage. It looks like some soldiers found us and they follow the drop and they've caught us off guard. I don't know where they are. Oh, is that them over in the hills? Yep, I can see them, so we're going to fire back. We are injured. But we're going to quickly... Oh, there's more of them. So it takes 2 shots to take them down, but they're down, so we're going to quickly check the chest, it's empty, and we're just going to get out of here and try not to fight because we are taking up quite a bit of damage and we don't want to get killed out here. So we're going to start the next mission, which is just to chop some wood, but fortunately it's given us a waypoint back to the bunker because otherwise finding our way back would have been a struggle. So it looks like, there is competition for the drops. There are enemy soldiers nearby, and when we go out to get them there's a good chance we're going to get ambushed, so we're going to have to be quick and careful. But we survived that encounter just about. So now we're going to head back, chop some wood, make some food, and that will complete our next day. So, so far, really intrigued by this. It's an interesting concept for a survival game, being set, during World War II and basically surviving out of a bunker that we've taken from the enemy. I'm not sure what tactical advantage this holds for us, holding this bunker. I imagine that there's other bunkers in the area also being held by our soldiers. This is the one we're in charge of. Or I don't know if we're abandoned, but we're getting the radio signals in, they're giving us orders. So it looks like we're here on an actual mission. There are enemy soldiers around us trying to take the bunker back. And again, I'm sure this is something happening in the other bunkers stationed in the area. So yeah, interesting premise. Quite different, quite interesting, and I'm enjoying what I've played so far. I know it's a lot of tutorial stuff because it's so early in the game, but just seeing the mechanics and seeing the kind of things we'll have to do daily, definitely interesting. Definitely an interesting concept for a survival game. So now we're going to have to chop some firewood. So we're going to take the wood, get our axe ready. We're going to put the axe in our pocket so we can use it. The wood. Place it on the stand. And then we take our axe and we just like that, we start chopping wood. We've already got plenty of firewood on us, but we'll chop this one for the mission. Oh, we've got to chop 2 pieces, so we'll chop 2 pieces of wood to complete the daily task. That's given us 3 pieces of wood. Pretty good, but our backpack is now full. Maybe if we put some of the wood in our hands, we can free up some space. So we've got 3 logs left actually, so we're going to have to probably chop down trees to keep our wood supplies up. But we'll chop another piece, grab our axe, and we'll chop away at the wood. And that'll give us plenty of firewood in our storage to keep us going for a couple of days, I would imagine. So chop this last piece. Yep, mission complete. We just need to send a message back telling them that we've done everything, and then from there we can cook some food and then progress to the next day. Check because we've got too much in our pockets right now because we picked up stuff from that supply drop. We kind of need all of it, so I can't drop anything in particular. So we'll just leave this piece of wood there and it's there for another day. We'll take these pieces inside, put them in our storage. We've got to carry this piece because we've got no more room. Find the kitchen, which is, was it this one? Yes. And we'll just go put all this wood we picked up into storage. And that should sort us out. So, I don't know what has happened to that piece. It just kind of disappeared. It's not in the oven though, so that's fine. Get the other pieces. Yep, use, put them down. We need all these other pieces out. We'll just put them in our hands, put these in our pockets, in our backpack. We don't need to carry those anyway. And we're just gonna place all the wood, fill our storage up, and just like that, we have plenty of firewood. So we do need to send this signal off by 6 AM. We do need to eat and drink. We're very thirsty and very hungry. So I think we can probably just drink from this canteen. Assuming there's water in it. I don't know if it's empty actually. So instead we're going to put this back. We've got a bucket of water, pick this up, and hopefully, yep, we can just fill this with water and drink that. And we now have full thirst. So we're going to send this message, get this day complete. Use this, send a message. So we've got 7, which is 22111. Enter. 5, which is just all dots. And then we've got a circle or a 0. I think that's a 0 with a thing, so that's just dash 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 dash. And then a 6, which is dash dot 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 dot. And just like that, complete. Choose our reward for the next drop. Maybe some landmines. Oh, that's an anti-tank mine. Anti-personnel mine. We'll take one of those. And now we have free time to just explore and do whatever we want. So the last thing we're going to do is just make some food, because that guy needs to eat. Fire that up. We're just going to grab sausage and some potatoes, if we have any. Yep. We're going to put the potatoes in there. And then we're just, going to cook that. And remember to stir it. And hopefully that'll be a satisfying meal for our guy, our soldier. Our health's actually quite low, so I wonder if we eat something our health might regenerate. Maybe not, but we'll see what happens. But I think we can justify using a pill because our health is really low, whereas E to stir. But we'll see if he heals when he goes to sleep, because that'd be good if he can rest and sort of heal the wounds we're sleeping instead of using the resources, but we'll find out. Just cooking this food. Oh, we had some servings of food left in here, didn't we? Oh, we did. We've got 2 portions in here and 2 in here, but we'd better eat this first because that's going to go spoil first. So we're going to finish that, get our food full, and now we've got another meal sat on the stove for tomorrow, I guess. So now we've got everything satisfied and we're ready for some sleep, so we're going to take a nap and let the day pass. So we're sleeping, we're resting. Our health is not going up, but everything else seems solid. And here we are awake on day 3. Time to learn to arm the mines. They can come in handy during infantry attacks and raids. And then we can press L to pull out our shovel, which I'm guessing we're going to use to create and build stuff by the looks of it. So yeah, our health didn't go up, so we're going to have to heal ourselves. So we're just going to use a bandage and hopefully that gives us enough of a health boost. So we're going to use those. Yep, it gave us full health, and with that we can move on. So we're deciphering one more message. So that was like 5 dash dot dot. Looks like it's going to be, I'm really bad at this. Looks like a L, that's a K, and then we have 3 dots and 2 dashes is 3, and then we have 1 dash and 4 dots, which is 6. So that's we're correct. We've opened the documents and we can see that we have new missions. So this mission is to go on patrol, but we're supposed to go deal with these landmines first, so we're going to do that, and then after that we will head out on patrol and just keep our eye out for nearby enemies. So we're just looking for the entrance, which is this way, and then I think maybe this way, yep, and we're going to head outside. But the first thing we're going to do is just quickly check that if we press L and press, that's all we can dig, but you can't just dig anywhere. If we press P, we can place things down. So we can put the landmines down, put them, I mean, I don't know how close or far the soldiers really are going to go. They're not going to be over here, for example, but if we head a bit further out, we just press E to accept, place a landmine there, place one there, and just one a bit higher up. Hopefully that means we've planted them. So if it says E to accept, it just keeps placing new mines down when I do that. Oh, we're getting shot at. But if I press P to cancel now. When you are holding shovel on mine, green indicator is a place where you can bury them. Use the shovel on the green indicator to dig a hole. So we're supposed to dig when we press E. Oh, we're getting shot. But that didn't seem to do anything. Alright, so I'm supposed to go back to them, yep, and now I can dig and then place the mines. But we don't actually have any mines in our inventory, so never mind. But we do have a grenade and we're going to throw this thing if we can get it out. Oh, we can't get rid of the shovel, L. Okay, and we're just going to throw a grenade at those guys over there. Not even close, but it was fun. And we're going to use the distraction to just kill these 2 soldiers, and there we go. We are wounded, we are bleeding, so I'm going to have to use another bandage. It kind of caught me in the middle of something, but I suppose that's how it happens. We're just going to heal up, and we've got full health and the bleeding has stopped. So we got attacked by 2 soldiers. We're supposed to be patrolling anyway, but we were messing around with shovels. Searched their bodies, died in peculiar ways, nothing on them. And with that, this video's gone on quite a while now, so I'm going to stop here. But we're a couple of days in, ready to head out on patrol, and when we come back, we'll be continuing. Sorry, I'm just hearing my neighbour make a bunch of noise. Yeah, and obviously we'll continue from there. So with that, I'm gonna come in here, exit to the menu, and hope it's saved. We'll continue. Yep, it looks like we can just continue. And yeah, with that, I'm gonna end the video here. That was World War II Bunker Simulator. It's available on Steam. It's on sale. I think I saw it going for like $9.99, something like that. So yeah, go pick it up. It seems like a good game. I'm enjoying it so far. I kind of like the mechanic of, like, you know, as you're sort of surviving, the soldiers are coming trying to take the base back, so you're kind of always on guard, ready for them to come. They've got the daily missions to keep driving you forward. And, you know, it looks like it's a game that's going to develop. Like, we're about to go out on patrol. We can explore. There's more to the map than just the bunker. And who knows what's out there for us to find to make our situation better and easier to deal with. So, a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that. You know, it looks like there's going to be some crafting elements coming into it, but we'll see. because it would be nice to have some storage. But I mean, we can just put stuff on the shelves. It doesn't look like they're going to disappear. But if we could build like a storage container, or we could build some other stuff like we could with the landmines, pretty cool, interesting concept, and yeah, a lot of fun to play. So that was World War II Bunker Simulator. I hope you enjoyed the video, the episode. I'm SpookyLith, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for being here, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your comments below, leave your arguments below, we'll debate them, and it's just been a lot of fun doing this. I am poorly, but once I feel a bit better, assuming I do, I'll be keeping the frequency of episodes high. But while I'm poorly, they might be a little bit slower, but you know, these things come and go, and we're hoping for the best. And yeah, thank you for watching, take care of yourself, see you later.